I know you all hear about what emails I get. So I don't know whether this is the same as you, but this came the other day. I will seek and find you. I shall take you to bed and have my way with you. I will make you ache, shake and sweat until you moan and groan. I will make you beg for mercy, beg for me to stop. I will exhaust you to the point that you will be relieved when I'm finished with you. When I am finished, you will be weak for days. All my love, the flu. So I want to pick out a particular movie today because God knows we're in the shadow of creativity in America. The first real big movie that Walt Disney ever did was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So I thought the things I want to talk about today, that would give us a perfect playful platform. Now, playfulness in my book does not have any intent. You know, you say, well, it's good for you to play because it relaxes your stress factor. Oh, it's good to play for the same reason that children play. If you want to get back in touch with playfulness in your own life, I recommend you just play with a child for a day. You'll get it all back because you just imitated her or him. One of the things I've noticed for a long time is how adults define themselves. We define ourselves as adults by becoming serious. We're so serious instead of being playful, just for the sake of being playful. Here's another playful thing. A man was thinking about his living will while he was resting after dinner, and he said to his wife, by the way, just so you know, I never want to be in a vegetative state, dependent on some machine. If that happens, pull the plug. She got up, walked across the room, and pulled out the TV plug. So, I thought I'd talk today, share some thoughts I have, because I've been doing a lot of thinking this year. You know, I sort of disappeared from sight for a while. Now I'm back. I'll go to any campus where you can pay my way to come and I'll speak. I don't need an honorarium. So if you need to have me talk about my ideas, I spent a lot of time just thinking. The new revision of Parachute, I started working on December 28th. And I finished it on October 13th. That's last month. And it was supposed to be out way before that. But I have a merciful publisher, and they reluctantly went along, semi-patiently, with my desire to produce a really terrific book. So that will be out just before, just after Thanksgiving. Amazon should have it by about the 21st of this month, if you want to order it early. Now, I want to talk to you about these problem children called the Seven Dwarfs. You know, it's a favorite parlor game to try to name them all. I'll do it for you. It's bashful, it's dark, it's grumpy, it's sleepy, it's happy, it's sneezy, and it's dopey. The trick question is, what actor did the voice of Dopey? That's a trick question because is he in the room? Dopey never says a word through the entire film. Anyway, these guys have got problems. Yes. We'll continue while we risk danger. Listen to the lyrics of the song they sing. You know, there's one significant scene in the whole picture where they define their philosophy of life. It's awful. These guys need help. If you were a career counselor or career coach and these guys came to you, you would run out the door because they have problems Well, listen. We dig. I think it's 7 digs in a row there. In a mine, the whole day through. We dig. Is what we like to do. It ain't no trick to get rich quick. Did you see the little cottage they live in? I don't think they made it yet. If you dig with a shovel or a pick in a mine. First of all, these guys are stuck. If they were a DVD, you'd run to take it off and hit it hard. We dig. I think the diggers have arrived. If I slowly disappear from sight, you'll know what they're up to. Where a million diamonds shine, we dig from early morn till night. That is a long day. We dig up diamonds by the score to 1,000 and then sometimes more. But we don't know what we're digging for. There is the major problem right there. Then they start, the clock strikes 5, and they all get up, and the leader yells to them with a familiar tune, which I have no idea what it means. He goes, hi, ho, hi, ho, hi. I mean, now we have a glee club here for France. We can work with it. Monsieur Poirot. So he says, it's home from work we go. Now, I've spent half my adult life mishearing those words, and I always thought it's off to work we go. But it ain't. It's home from work we go. They're relieved. And then they get home, and what's waiting for them? The worst kept cottage in the world. How did they know Snow White has been there? Because it's all clean. They don't even clean it up. Anyway, I feel sorry for these guys. Let's start with what their first problem is. The first problem is they have identified themselves by traits. Traits. Now, anybody who's a good career coach knows that's a no-no. Trait is a style with which you do something. If you say, I'm very organized, my favorite trick to play on people is to say, do you get up organized? Do you go to the movies organized? And they're never sure. But they feel, no, that's not where I am. I was fortunate enough years ago to be on the same panel or the same roster, same conference with Joseph Campbell, whom I had idolized. I had a lot of money in those days, and so every time I would get a brochure about a conference, I'd only look over it for one thing: is Joseph Campbell going to be there? And if he was, I went. I went to one in Toronto, I went to one in New York City, I went everywhere. And last, I'm there with my idol, and I'm the presenter the first night, and he was the presenter the next morning. And he based his whole talk on what I had said the night before. So I thought, boy, I think I'm going to die right now. I'll really, really be happy. But we started talking, and he said, you know, Dick, the problem is our culture here in America really, really doesn't have its own mythology. And he said, I despair about our culture because we don't have a mythology. The Greeks had it, the Romans had it, blah, blah, blah. But we don't. So, of course, eventually he died, but I've never forgotten his words. And so I kept thinking about what has happened to mythology in our culture. And I thought, well, this is why some of these books and the movies are so popular. The Lord of the Rings. All these cycles that people, Harry Potter, all these cycles people are inventing are mythologies. And why are they attracting so much attention? Because there's a vacuum in our culture. There's a vacuum of mythologies by which we can explain who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. So we latch onto these books because we want the mythologies. When we go to the movies, at least when I go to the movies, I'm looking for the mythologies too. I'll give you a beautiful example. In Two for the Money, which has Al Pacino, Matthew McConaughey, and Rene Russo, there's a sequence where Al Pacino is this very crafty dealer, and he likes to get bets and make lots of money off other people's bad habits. So he goes to this Gamblers Anonymous meeting, and at the meeting he starts telling them that they're all broken. He says, we're all lemons. And he says, we don't really want to win. We gamble so we can lose. You know why? Because when we lose, we are the most alive. We feel the loss in the depths of our soul. And he said, that's why we gamble. We gamble because we want to be alive. And when we lose, we feel that aliveness we're searching for all the time. Well, in the course of the movie, if you want to still see it and you don't want me to spoil it, please leave the room for 7 minutes and I'll be done. At the end of the movie, what happens is he gambles with his wife. He throws her deliberately into the arms and tries to, into the arms of Matthew McConaughey, his young apprentice. He tells him he's left town. He hasn't. He's watching them. They go out to dinner. He sees them kiss. He's sure that he's caught them in flagrante delicto. And so he talks the next day about, he kind of drives her away. And she turns his speech, which he made to the Gamblers Anonymous, turns it around and turns it right back on him. And she says, look, remember he had said the reason we gamble is to lose. She said, you are gambling with me as the chip. And you are gambling because you want to lose me. And you want to have a lonely life for the rest of your life. And I'm here to tell you that's never going to happen. Never going to happen. I'm never going to leave you. And I thought to myself, that's not a typical Hollywood ending. Usually you see the lonely guy going down the street under successive street lamps at night. And that's the end of the movie. So I love it because when you go to the movies and it doesn't follow the stereotype, you are encountering the myth. The myth is that, and in this case, the myth is that when you're finished with the movie, you reestablish your own patterns. Of course we screw up. Of course we separate. Of course we endure a lot of isolation at times. And the Hollywood movie just reinforces that, the typical Hollywood movie. But here's a movie where the guy who wrote it had the genius to say, well, the heroine is going to say, I'm never going to let that happen. It's wonderful to see what our mythology is, but often we only uncover it when the film doesn't follow our usual mythology. So, when you go to the movies, you're going to use your eyes. I think the eyes are important. In Disney characters, the eyes are huge. Huge. They're the most obvious thing about their face, as you will see. The eyes have preoccupied me for a long time because when I was in high school, I was the worst thrower you could find within 25 miles of that high school. And when they chose teams in gym, as it was called in those days, when they chose teams, they all prayed as one person they wouldn't be stuck with me. And so they counted when they started, they all wanted to be the first one to count because then the other team would be stuck with me. And this is a true story. It did not fill up a lot of self-confidence when I started out in life because they really didn't like my throwing. So I was reconciled all my life to the fact that I was a bad thrower. Now, some of you have heard this story, so I want to hurry it up. When I got to be an adult and somewhere in my 40s, I noticed I was having no problem throwing. When I was out on the field in high school, if I threw toward first base, I was lucky if I didn't hit third. And the reason I knew that they expected that was the third guy